Purvis Young, who was a local artist in the city of Miami, who has done beautiful work, and his work still remains in the community. And this proclamation will honor him, and I'd like to bring up, and on his birthday, which is February 2nd, 1942. And I would like to bring up his daughter, Miss Lovitz, his grandson, Mr. Williams, Mr. Bird, Purvis's brother, to receive this proclamation. Or we'll come down for the protocol and good pictures. Come join me up here with my colleague, Commissioner Ken Russell. The proclamation reads, whereas Purvis Young was born in Liberty City, a neighborhood of Miami, Florida, on February 2nd, 1942. As a young boy, Purvis spent time with his uncle Irving Young, a well-known local sign painter who introduced him to drawing and painting. Purvis had a very limited formal education and did not attend high school. Whereas as a young man, Purvis spent 3 years, from 1961 to 1964, in prison at a North Florida's Rayford State Penitentiary for breaking and entering. While in prison, Purvis realized the life of crime was not for him and made a choice to leave that world behind and pursue the life of an artist. He regained his interest in art and began drawing and studying art books. When released, he began to produce thousands of small drawings, which he kept in shopping carts and later glued into discarded books and magazines that he found on the streets. He proceeded to move into the Overtown neighborhood of Miami. Young became attracted to a vacant alley called Good Bread Alley, which was named after the Jamaican bakeries that once occupied the street. He started living there in 1971. Whereas in early 1970s, Young found inspiration in the mural movements of Chicago and Detroit and decided to create a mural of inspiration in Overtown. He had never painted before, but inspiration struck and he began to create paintings on discarded pieces of plywood, nailing them to the boarded up storefronts that formed the alley. Occasionally, paintings would disappear from the wall, but Young didn't mind. About 2 years after starting the mural, tourists started visiting the alley. Young sold paintings to visitors, tourists, and collectors alike, right off the wall. The mural garnered media attention, including the attention of millionaire Bernard Davis, owner of the Miami Art Museum. Davis became a patron of Young, providing him with painting supplies as well. Davis died in 1973, leaving Young a local celebrity in Miami. Whereas in the late 1990s and early 2000s, he explored other inspirations by watching historical documentaries about war, the Great Depression, commerce, and Native American conflicts and struggles in the United States. In 1999, the Rubel family, notable art collectors from New York, asked to purchase some of Purvis' art. Purvis explained the works in the studio were like a family and he didn't want to split them up. With that said, the Rubels purchased the entire current content of Young's studio, a collection of almost 3,000 pieces. In 2008, the Rubels donated 108 of those works to the Morehouse College. In January 2007, Purvis was selected as the Art Miami Fair's Director's Choice at the Miami Beach Convention Center and helped to establish a number of outdoor art fairs in South Florida that continue today. Whereas Young suffered from diabetes and toward the latter years of his life, he had other health problems, undergoing kidney transplant in 2007. He died on April 20th, 2010 in Miami from cardiac arrest and pulmonary edema. He is survived by his partner, Eddie Mae Lovis, his two sisters, Betty Rodriguez, Shirley Bird, brother Irving Bird, 4 stepsisters, and 13 stepchildren. Whereas Young found strong influence in Western art history and voraciously absorbed books from his nearby public library by Rembrandt, Van Gogh, Gauguin, El Greco, Dumer, and Picasso. His work was vibrant and colorful and was described as appearing like finger painting. Reoccurring themes in his works were angels, wild horses, and urban landscapes. Through his works, he expressed social and racial issues and served as an outspoken activist about politics and bureaucracy. He is credited with influencing the art movement terms social expressionism and urban expressionism. Now, therefore, I, Francis X. Suarez, Mayor of Miami, Florida, do hereby find fitting and appropriate for the elected leadership of the City of Miami to pause in our deliberations of government in order to honor and commend Purvis Young for his invaluable contributions to our community and to extend him our best wishes for the continued success of his noble endeavors by virtue of the present official document and celebrate many achievements by proclaiming February 20 as Purvis Young in the City of Miami. In observance thereof, I call upon all residents of the City of Miami and the Honorable City Commission to join me in honoring and commending Purvis Young, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this City of Miami to be affixed.
We just want to thank everyone for coming out and honoring him for us.
My family, like, I would like to thank you all for honoring him with this proclamation. My mom wasn't able to be here because she's in Texas, like her and most of the other family, but on behalf of me and my nephew, we'd like to thank you all.
Our next recognition will be one of our own, and I'm going to turn it over to our city attorney. Mr. Honeyfeld, would you come forward, please? I'm going to allow Victoria to do this one. Victoria, would you do the honors, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to turn it over to Eddie Leal in the mayor's office first, and then we'll continue with the proclamation.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Henry. Do we have everybody from the city attorney's office here? Excellent. Come on, stand up. It's only for a second. Come on, guys. I know. I get to say something to you guys all, and you can follow. I love it. Okay, Henry. In recognition of his excellent service, the City of Miami issues a certificate of merit to Henry Honenfeld. Henry served in the office of the City Attorney from June 1999 through June 25, 2019. He was appointed Supervisor of Civil Litigation and Appeals in 2008. He was named Senior Assistant City Attorney in 2013. He retired on January 25, 2019. and he was promptly rehired as a legal consultant until December 25th, 2021. Give me a second. It's a little bit annoying. Henry has handled some of the most significant cases, including challenges to the Marlins Stadium deal and SEC litigation against the city, and also some environmental class actions against the city. He's one of only a few attorneys that has more than one board certification, a very impressive recognition. He's a big nerd. He is board certified by the Florida Bar in civil trial and city council and local government. Henry has been a tremendous asset to the city, to the office of the city attorney and the city of Miami, and he will be missed. We wish him the best as he enters this next chapter. I wanted to say something because I met Henry before I was involved with the city and that walk that we did in federal court. And he was gracious, he was respectful, he was someone that was willing to share his knowledge, his experience. And one thing, Henry, that I will never forget, that in practice of law, we spent most of our time being adverse to each other. That's the nature of the beast. However, you're one of the few that you can respectfully disagree. And that, unfortunately, is something that is being lost, not only with our politicians, but with the practice of law. And I would be happy to be adverse to you and continue those conversations. You really are a testament to the practice of law, and thank you. Without a doubt, we will miss you.
So I started at the city attorney's office. Next month, it'll be 18 years that I've been at the city attorney's office. And when I first came to the city attorney's office, I knew nothing about civil. I was a former prosecutor. So I, had a huge learning curve. And one of the people that helped me out in civil litigation was Henry Hunnefeld. And we had a joke in the office that when you needed to learn something from beginning to end, you would go to the treatise, which was Henry. And he would explain everything about whatever you were researching, and you would go into court looking like a rock star. And that has held true till today. Henry's knowledge is just amazing. He is a walking encyclopedia. His strategy, his mind, everything having to do with his practice is just second to none. We call him the snake charmer. He can get us out of any situation, and we are going to miss you very much, Henry. I know that you are going to help out another municipality as much as you've helped us, but you will be sorely missed.
I am going to echo your sentiments as a young lawyer just starting out. Henry got me out of a big scrape. I was terrified, way over my head, and Henry said to me, "It's okay. We're going to do this. We're going to be fine." And we did amazing work, and he was absolutely correct. And I learned so much from that experience. And I'd like to thank you. And we've worked together a couple of times after that, and each time the experience was wonderful. He is so generous with his time and his expertise. And for someone like me, I so appreciated a sole practitioner with no supervisor to turn to. Henry was always an asset, and I thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair, that sounds so good. Chair King and Commissioner Russell and Victoria, City Attorney Eddie, all my friends, my wife Angelica, my daughters Haley and Allison. Excuse me. The two best decisions I made in my life were asking my wife to marry me and joining the city of Miami. I've never looked back from that. It's been an honor to represent the city of Miami and to represent all of you. It's been a privilege to work with great professionals like Victoria Mendez, Chris Green, Warren Bittner, George Wysong, John Greco, and the list goes on and on. Many of them, all the people here. Oh, and Barnaby too. No. As I say, it's been an honor to work with these people, and I thank you.
If we can have your family come up so they could take a picture with us, girls. Are the attorneys coming too?
Yeah, let's do one with the
Family,
and
okay.
everybody. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Team? No, come back, come back. Angelica, don't leave, come back with everybody. Hold up your certificate.
And I like that official set. I forgot who it was. Someone in New York, right? Yeah. That was hilarious. I was taking a picture of the last one. I was holding it.
Squeeze in a little.
Keep it COVID friendly. I thought the store guy, right? I love those pictures.
We have one more. Get to work. She's here. I saw her.
She's here? Oh, okay. I'm gonna grab it. She's here?
No, she's coming in. She's like rolling in.
Okay.
She's like 30 seconds away.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect,
she close?
perfect,
Yeah,
perfect.
she's like,
Okay, got it. Well, apparently she's walking in less than a minute. Oh, you did? Okay. Maybe Caesar, maybe she went to the bathroom. Caesar's telling me that give it a second. She should be joining us shortly. Let me say goodbye. Where's Henry?
she said she was South Miami Avenue rolling in.
Oh, okay. Good to see you, sir. Where's Henry? Did he? Oh. Wait, sorry. You're not changing your number, right?
My cell number is the same. You can always.
Okay. they gonna have like a little get together? Yes, sir. Good morning, good morning. Morning.
Always. How are you?
We're gonna miss you, you know that.
I will
But,
miss you
but when you
just.
come back, we'll.
Any particular read? Should we start? Okay. Good morning. If we can ask for Ms. Kamar Brown, Caesar to join us as well. And I think we should have the manager here also. Okay. Actually, you're you in the middle. Commissioner, good morning. Buenos días. Gusto verte. I'm going to confess something before I start reading. This is the only certificate of merit that I have prepared in my very small tenure at the city of Miami, where the size of the paper is a lot larger than I like because there were so much things to say that I'm not cutting any of it. And I left it, I actually expanded it despite my rules against this process. So I'm going to read now. That would be and heavy. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to help out.
Team effort.
It is.
In recognition of her excellent service, the City of Miami issues a certificate of merit. Kamar Brown, servant leader, started at the City of Miami in 2015 as a business process analyst in the Information Technology Department. She's currently the city's enterprise program manager and an assistant director for the planning department. Kamar is a trailblazer, without a doubt. In her capacity as the city's enterprise program manager, Kamar and her two-person team mapped out the city's permitting process and translated them into the digital platform we know now today as ePlan. Wow. This technological innovation now serves to assist residents, property owners, and business owners submit electronic permit requests through various city departments for review and approval. The result of Kamar Brown as Enterprise Program Manager is that the city's customers have reduced wait times due to ePlan's ability to allow for concurrent review of city departments, as well as increased transparency and accountability. In addition to ensuring that developers capture the city's needs accurately, Kamar coordinated training for hundreds of city employees, residents, and customers, and the lead up towards ePlan implementation. On October 1, 2018, the building department was the first to go live in ePlan, with planning and zoning and public works following before the end of 2018. In her position as an assistant director for the planning department, she led efforts to digitize various departmental processes, aligning with the city's overall records digitization efforts for improved accessibility and transparency. Kamar also led the team of city staff who reviewed and proposed updates to the fee structure found in the city's Code of Ordinance. As amended for planning and zoning applications, her logical mind and delightful disposition has inspired and challenged staff to streamline processes, improve customer service practices, and provide increased visibility and accessibility and information. We'll finish with, she's generous with her wisdom and with friends and colleagues in need. When times are right for it, she's even up for a good laugh. I'm confident that you will continue to excel and serve in our community to advance our quality of life and contribute to Miami. And I just had a thought, Kamar. Have you seen The Matrix?
I have.
You know that moment where you are meeting, or Neo is meeting the architect, and he's the one that has designed everything? I think you're just that person, because I met you when you were in this process. We had that like conversation in your office before I was at the city. I was trying to understand things, and it really does feel like you're that architect. So thank you. You will be missed. You will, and big shoes to fit whoever is coming after. So I don't know who wants to do. By the way,
I'll go first.
Let's do a round of applause.
So I'll be brief. You know, there's a interesting line or words in that last line, which she's even up for a good laugh. That's the one thing I'm gonna miss, that I didn't get enough time with her to laugh with her, probably more. She's an amazing person. And the opportunity for me to work directly with Kamar has been in bits and spurts. But I came away impressed every time. And so you are a credit to the hard work you've put in as a professional. I am excited for your next opportunity. I told you when you come back, not if. There's going to be always be a place and a home for you here as long as I'm here. So I wish you all the luck in the world. And, this is your family, your extended family. So whatever you need, in whatever way any of us can be a resource to you, we're always at the other end of the phone or a text or an email. So good luck, Kamar.
Thanks, manager. And I will also be brief. I actually was so excited when I learned that I was coming to the city and Kamar was going to be the assistant director, because we first had this idea of E-Plan in my last stint, which was almost a decade ago, and got nowhere. We just couldn't make it happen. And as complex as that is, she was able to listen to every department, figure out what exactly needed to be done, and get it done, which is amazing, particularly with the complexity that it is. I then ran into her as a user, an outsider, when she was teaching folks how to use it. And I'm sitting in the audience wondering, who is this person? Because I understand everything she's saying, which means everyone here should understand it, which was amazing too. The ability to communicate very difficult ideas in a way that anybody can understand is amazing. And then when I learned I was coming over, and I hadn't met Kamar, everyone was telling me, she's really busy with E-Plan stuff and other stuff, but 30% of Kamar is worth 100% of another assistant director. And I would have to agree. 30% of Kamar, which she gave 100% for everything, is worth it. So I appreciate the time we had together, and I wish you the best of luck.
Okay, where do we start? So, in 2015, when I joined the city, simply put, I could not have imagined that the city would be able to pour as much as it has over the last 7 years. It is truly the reflection of what happens when a really great group of people who beyond themselves decide that they're going to do something so much bigger. June 9th, 2017, when we kicked off, or we made E-Plan known to the public, we were in this room, and we had to do a presentation on essentially the process improvements that we've made over the last 4 years. And I remember members of the industry sitting in the 3 rows, and they came up and they told, it was, are you guys sure you are able to do this? Do we understand all the places where the processes start and stop? Are we ready as an organization to transform into that electronic plans review world? And it was special because every single director at the time was here, and we all stood in unison to say, yes, this is the time, and yes, we are ready. And quite frankly, the Electronic Plans Review project is the earmark in my mind of what happens when we all get on the same page, when we have fantastic leadership that supports us and allows, quite frankly, the everyday person who E-Plan is E-Plan, but without the person working Christmas Eve to help us get the contract executed, and the people setting up at midnight the night before we went live, it simply would not have happened. I cannot thank, quite frankly, the city of Miami enough for allowing me to participate and contribute to the staff, to the residents, to the industry, because I've really been shaped and sharpened for the human being that I am. So I'm very thankful. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Caesar. Thank you, Eddie, and our warrant discussions. Thank you, Commissioner King. Thank you, Commissioner Russell, and thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Zeri, I do not see, but I cannot. Thank you, Zeri.
At this time, we're going to call the City of Miami Commission meeting to order for February 10th, 2022. I am going to ask Pastor Quincy Cohen to start us in prayer. Where is he? Go get him. Quincy Cohen is my Chief of Constituent Affairs. He is also the pastor of A.M. Cohen Temple in Overtown, and he is the grandson of the founder of the church, which we are going to do a street designation in honor of his grandfather. So I think it'd be appropriate and fitting that he provide us with the prayer for today's meeting.
Amen. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, eternal God, we come to you this morning simply to say thank you. We come to you with our eyes closed and head bowed in humility to say thank you for our life, thank you for our health, thank you for our strength. Thank you for watching over us, God, as we slumbered and slept last night, protecting us from all the traps and schemes of the enemy. You said in your word, God, if 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, that you will be in the midst. So we come to you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, praying that the presence and the power of your Holy Spirit rest and rule throughout the remaining of this commission. Our simple prayer today, God, is that your will be done. Our simple prayer today, God, is that the will of the body will always be in line with your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And Commissioner Russell, would you honor us with the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Look at my girls, my girls. Hello, can you get my tea for me, please? Not these. Welcome again. All right. You are? You are too? Okay. Waiting on one. At this time, while I am waiting for my colleagues, I'm going to have City Attorney Min read the procedures to be followed during this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the city clerk and comply with related city requirements for a lobbyist before appearing before the City Commission. A person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the code section about lobbyists is available in the city clerk's office or online at municode.com. Any person making a presentation, form, or request or petition to the City Commission concerning real property must make the disclosures required by the City Code in writing. A copy of the City Code section is available at the office of the City Clerk or online at municode.com. The City of Miami requires that anyone requesting action by the City Commission must disclose before the hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection to the requested action pursuant to Section 2-8 of the City Code. Any documents offered to the City Commission that have not been provided 7 days beforehand as part of the meeting for the agenda materials will be entered into the record at the City Commission's discretion. If any commissioner thinks the documents supplied to the Commission fewer than 7 days before merits a continuance, the item may be continued by the City Commission. Pursuant to Section 2-33F and G of the City Code, the agenda and the material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the City Clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission unless modified by the chair. Public comment will begin at approximately 9 o'clock and remain open until public comment is closed by the chairperson. Members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by submitting written comments via the online comment form. Please visit miamigov.com/media instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the online public comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been and will be distributed to the elected officials and city's administration throughout the day so that the elected officials can consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to the elected officials up until the time the chairwoman closes the public comment period. Public comment may also be provided live at City Hall at 3500 Pan American Drive, Miami, Florida, subject to any and all city rules as they may be amended. Due to the ongoing surge of COVID-19 cases throughout Miami-Dade County, including the City of Miami, persons who wish to provide public comment at City Hall today are subject to certain reasonable COVID-19 safety measures in order to prevent the further spread of the virus and to protect city employees, visitors, and others present at today's meeting. If the proposition is being continued to be rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the City Commission takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public must first state his or her name, his or her address, and what item will be spoken about. Any person with disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate, among other things, the public support, opposition, or neutrality on the items and topics to be discussed at today's meeting, pursuant to Section 286.014, subsection 4, subsection C of Florida statutes. The public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting and within reasonable proximity to time before the meeting. Please note, commissioners have generally been briefed by city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. Anyone wishing to appeal any decision made by the City Commission for any matter considered at this meeting may need a verbatim record of the item. A video of this meeting may be requested at the Office of Communications or viewed online at miamigov.com. Planning and zoning items shall proceed pursuant to Section 7.1.4 of the Miami 21 zoning code as temporarily modified pursuant to emergency ordinance numbers 13903 and 13914. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903 and 13914, parties for any planning and zoning items, including any applicants, appellant, appellee, city staff, and any person recognized by the decision-making body as a qualified intervener, as well as the applicant's representatives and any experts testifying on behalf of the applicant, appellant, or appellee, may either be physically present at City Hall to be sworn in by oath or affirmation by the city clerk, or may appear virtually and make arrangements to be sworn in by oath or affirmation in person at the location by an individual qualified to perform such duty. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, members of the general public who are not parties to an action pending before the City Commission are not required to be sworn in by oath or affirmation. The members of the City Commission shall disclose any ex parte communications to remove the presumption of prejudice pursuant to Section 286.014 Florida statutes and Section 7.1.4.5 of the Miami 21 Code. Staff will briefly present each item to be heard. For applications requiring City Commission approval, the applicant will present its application request to the City Commission. If the applicant agrees with the staff's recommendation, the City Commission may proceed to its deliberation decision. The applicant may also waive the right to an evidentiary hearing on the record. The order of presentation shall be as set forth in Miami 21 and the City Code, providing the appellant shall present its case first. For appeals, the appellant will present its appeal to the City Commission, followed by the appellee. Staff will be allowed to make any recommendations they may have. Please silence all cell phones and other noise-making devices. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Min. At this time, I'm going to have the clerk read the procedures for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. The procedures for individuals who will be providing testimony will be sworn in for planning and zoning items and any quasi-judicial items on today's City Commission agenda will be as follows. The members of city staff or any other individuals required to be sworn in who are currently present at City Hall will be sworn in by me, the city clerk, immediately after I finish explaining these procedures. Those individuals who are appearing remotely may be sworn in now or at any time prior to the individual providing testimony for planning and zoning items and or quasi-judicial items. Pursuant to emergency ordinance number 13903, those individuals appearing remotely may be sworn in at their location by an individual qualified to administer the oath. After you're sworn in, please be sure to complete, sign, and notarize the affidavit provided to you by the City Attorney's Office. Each individual who will provide testimony must be sworn in and execute an affidavit. Please email a scanned version of the signed affidavit to the city clerk at thannon@miamigov.com prior to providing testimony on the planning and zoning item and our quasi-judicial item. The affidavit shall be included in the record for the relevant item for which you will be providing testimony. Commissioners, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth in these uniform rules and procedures we have established for this meeting?
Yes.
Chair, may I administer the oath for anyone who will be speaking on today's planning and zoning items?
Please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you will be speaking on any of today's planning and zoning items, may I please have you stand and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at today's meeting is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And your response is? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. Mr. Manager, are there any items that the administration would like to continue, defer, withdraw, or indefinitely defer?
Good morning, Mr. Chairwoman, Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Clerk. At this time, the administration would like to defer and or withdraw the following items. DI-1 to be withdrawn, PZ-3 to be withdrawn, PZ-4 to be withdrawn, PZ-5 to be deferred to the April 28th meeting, PZ-6 to be indefinitely deferred, PZ-12 to be indefinitely deferred, PZ-13 to be deferred to the February 24th meeting, PZ-16 to be indefinitely deferred, PZ-17 to be indefinitely deferred, and PZ-18 to be indefinitely deferred.
Mr. City Manager, could you repeat? I kind of slow, you know.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. DI-1
Hold on a second. DI-1.
to be withdrawn,
Okay.
PZs 3 and 4
PC3 and 4.
to be withdrawn.
Okay.
To clarify, that's at the applicant's request.
Correct.
What else?
PZ-5
5.
to be deferred to the April 28th meeting.
Deferred.
PZ-6
6.
to be indefinitely deferred.
Deferred.
PZ 12 to be indefinitely deferred.
Deferred.
PZ 13 to be deferred to the February 24th meeting.
Okay.
PZs 16, 17, and 18, all to be indefinitely deferred.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, while you're considering the order of the day, pursuant to sections 166.041 Florida statutes, as well as the city code, items PZ2 and PZ 15 must occur after 5 o'clock unless the commission, by 4/5 vote, would like to address the matter beforehand.
Gentlemen,
Could I get a clarification on that, please?
So because PZs 2 and 15 deal with uses pursuant to the state statute as well as the city code, one of the two hearings must occur after 5 o'clock, unless the body, by 4/5 vote, decides to address the matters before 5 o'clock.
Madam Chair, if I could.
yes?
Mr. Min, have we followed that practice explicitly up to now on PZ items?
Yes, sir. And in fact, previously, before Section 2-33 of the city code was amended approximately a year, 2 years ago, there was a provision in the city code that allowed the items to be addressed before 5 o'clock, but after 2 o'clock.
Yes.
That provision of the city code was adopted by 4/5 vote, which is why that was in the city code. Since the city code was amended to allow PZ items to be heard at 9 o'clock anytime, and it was not done by 4/5 vote to allow the items to be addressed before 5 o'clock, that's why you have to have individual votes.
And last question through the chair. Is it a 4/5 vote of the body or of those present?
4/5 of the body.
Thank you.
So Barnaby, as I understand, we can vote to hear it before 5 o'clock. If we get through everything and it's not 5 o'clock, we don't have to wait around till 5 o'clock if we vote on that.
If there's a 4/5 vote in favor of that, yes, ma'am.
So may I have a motion to hear PZ 2 and 15 before 5 o'clock,
So
if it's
moved.
appropriate?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any items that you would like to have withdrawn, deferred, or indefinitely deferred?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I'd like to indefinitely defer the RE9 Omni extension.
Indefinitely deferred?
Yes. RE9, the extension of the Omni CRA.
Commissioner?
May I ask why indefinitely?
It allows us to bring it back anytime, but after talking with the management of the Omni CRA, we're going to hold off for right now. So we can bring it back a month from now,
After talking to who?
working with my management within the Omni CRA, with the director, the assistant director, and staff.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
If there is a will to pass it today,
No.
I'm happy to take it. But I have the tea leaves that I'm reading suggest that perhaps we put it on the back burner for the moment.
Commissioner, do you have any items that you would like to defer?
No, ma'am. Not for now, but I reserve the right to do it a little bit later if necessary.
Okay. Commissioner Reyes?
Microphone?
See, it is, what is it? It is the extension of a conversion of green space into park. It's FR4. I would like to defer it as well. We'll get more information and what are the possibilities of that being used as not met laws and all of that. I would like more information on it.
Madam Chair?
That's fine.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
FR4 is my item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would like to try to hear it today. If possible, it's first reading, and I know we have a lot of questions,
Well,
but we can
it
work
is-
with
it
staff
is-
between first and second.
I'm
happy to answer your questions on it.
I know you're always happy to answer questions, and you extend yourself when you answer your questions. But I do have concern on it because my problem is that I want to make sure that it is not used in lieu of park that has been, parkland that has been used, and this doesn't open the door to any, I will say, even the swales could be converted into a called parkland. I want to make sure that we have those constraints on it, that it will not be used and abused. And that is my problem. I want the city attorney and planning to make sure that we have the constraints that it's not used and abused in the future, because you're not going to be here for long, okay? You're going to be gone by middle of this year. And also, I'm not going to be here forever. We are not going to be here forever, but we want to make sure that the future of our parks and the future of our cities are protected. Okay?
Thank you. Madam Chair? I'm the best person to make the case for this and work through it with you, and I can't meet with you in between meetings. So I would just ask for the discretion of, let's start the item, let's talk about it, and if we don't make it through, we defer it. But I would like to at least make the case for it before we defer it. Cole.
Sir, what does a week means to you? I mean, 2 weeks means to you. I mean, it means a lot to me because I want to clarify it. But to you, what is the rush? There is somebody that wants to use this as I mean, now it makes me question, why is the rush?
Okay, well, I agree with Commissioner Russell, so we have to vote on the items that the commissioners would like to defer to decide.
So it's the will of the body. Right now, Commissioner Reyes has requested a FR4 be deferred. However, if it's the will of the body to at least hear the item and then potentially defer after discussion, it's completely within the will of the body.
So I'm going to defer to the district commissioner on this. Is it the will of the body to hear this item?
I'd like to hear it.
I'd like to hear it, but reserve the option to defer while we debate, after we debate it.
Agreed.
Okay.
What do you say, Commissioner?
He said he would like
I would like to hear it.
to hear it and reserve the right to defer it later.
That is fine, but that's not my position.
Okay.
Okay, it is 3-1. This is democracy, and that's the way we work.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So we have FR. So Todd, help me with this. Do we
Got
need
one
to do a
more.
motion to?
I've got one more, Madam Chair.
You have one more? Oh,
Uh,
sorry.
Yes, requesting of District 1 Commissioner. FR3, the scooter program. I'd like to ask if you're open to deferring that item as well. I heard from a new company that's managing the scooter program in Los Angeles along with other cities. From what they say, seems to be quite successful, and they're addressing a lot of the problems we have. There doesn't seem to be a rush to solidify our ordinance, as we're still in a potentially long process of awarding the RFP and potential challenges. So I'd like to learn more about the best practices of managing the program, and if there's a third party that can do that before we set our ordinance in place. But it's your item.
Can I have just question something? It's not that I like to dwell on things, but how come there is not a rush for this and there is a rush for your item?
Commissioner Reyes, I think we only allowed that we're going to listen to it.
Okay.
And I'm deferring because it's
Okay.
the district
No,
commissioner.
I'm just pulling his leg.
Yes, so because.
Maybe it's been contradictory once again.
Good morning, Commissioner Carollo. How are you today? Buenos días. Okay, Commissioner Carollo, we are in the process of
Madam Chair.
selecting items that
Go ahead,
you
I'm
may want to defer or withdraw or indefinitely defer. I believe we were with Commissioner Russell. Do you have anything else?
No, just requesting to push the scooter program. And
Okay, to defer the scooter program.
I spoke to, Madam Chair, I spoke to the city manager a few minutes ago. I want to hear the issue. I may want to extend the program. I know you disqualified, I believe, 5 companies. So I wanted to see the reasoning behind that. believe part of it had to do with the helmet requirement, other things we were discussing, a number of issues. So I want to have that, a little bit of that conversation, and maybe we defer, but it's not my choice to defer it right now, madam.
I'll hold off then. I agree.
Okay,
We'll
so
wait.
I agree.
we're gonna go with the scooter program.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
While I don't believe at this time I have anything to defer, I do have 2 pocket items that I had previously sent a few days ago that are of an emergency
Okay,
reason that I have before us.
okay, so we'll, have your pocket items heard. Okay,
One is, so that it's on the record, allocating $75,000 that we had for the Three Kings Parade to Carnival Miami, that we had not allocated anything. Three Kings is not happening, so we'll allocate that to them.
that's pocket item 1.
This pocket item 1, and pocket item 2 is a resolution of the commission, reference House Bill 280.
Okay, and that's your pocket item 2? Okay,
Thank you.
so we need to read,
Thank you, Chair. So before a motion and a vote is taken on the items that are going to be withdrawn, continued, and definitely deferred, I just have a quick statement that I need to read regarding the indefinite deferral of some of the planning and zoning items. Pursuant to Section 62-22 of the City Code, indefinitely deferred action initiated by the city will cost the city mail noticing, advertising, and posting of properties as applicable. Thank you, Chair.
may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. Mr. City Attorney, can you read the items that are being deferred for the record?
What I have, Commissioner, is RE9 is being indefinitely deferred. DI1 is being withdrawn. PZ3 is being withdrawn at the applicant's request. PZ4 is being withdrawn at the applicant's request. PZ5 is being deferred to April 23rd. PZ6.
I'm sorry, Chair, I believe that's April 28th?
I'm sorry, April 28th.
Madam Chair, can he start again? I'm sorry, a little bit louder, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry. PZ5 is being deferred to April 28th.
No, start again.
He wants you to
Start
start
over.
from the beginning. And don't go fast, so
Yes.
everyone can get it.
It's before 10 a.m., Barnaby.
You know, it's difficult for me to speak slowly. So what I have is RE9 is being indefinitely deferred. PZ3 is being withdrawn at the applicant's request. PZ4 is being withdrawn at the applicant's request. PZ5 is being deferred to April 28th. PZ6 is being indefinitely deferred. PZ12 is being indefinitely deferred. PZ13 is being deferred to February 24th. And PZs 16, 17, and 18 are all being indefinitely deferred.
Can you go over that, please? From the
Sorry?
top down, can you go over it, just the numbers?
The numbers?
Yeah, that are being deferred.
Three's a charm, Barnaby, three's a charm.
So RE9 on page 16.
Okay.
PZ3 on page 75.
You skipped the FR and you skipped the discussion items. I'm sorry, Madam
I'm
Chair.
sorry. You're correct, sir. DI1 on page 27 is also.
DI1,
DI1 on page 27 is to be withdrawn. PZ3 on page 75 is to be withdrawn at the applicant's request. PZ4 on page 79 is to be withdrawn at the applicant's request. PZ5 on page 83 is to be deferred until April 28th. PZ6 on page 86 is to be indefinitely deferred. PZ12 on page 92 is to be indefinitely deferred. PZ13 on page 93 is to be deferred to February 24th. PZ 16 on page 101 is to be indefinitely deferred. PZ 17 on page 103 is to be indefinitely deferred. PZ 18 on page 105 is to be indefinitely deferred. And I believe the commission will also address PZ 15 on page 97 and PZ 2 on page 73 before 5 o'clock if the opportunity is available.
Okay, PC 15 and PC
2,
2 will be addressed before 5.
if possible, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, can you go over again the ones that you mentioned from RE9, above RE9?
I'm not aware of anything before RE9.
Okay, so RE9 was the first one.
That is my understanding, yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. So we can now. Mr. Clerk, are there any mayoral vetoes?
Oh, Chair, if you could take a vote on the motion in a second for the order of the day.
Move.
It was already moved and seconded. I just need a vote.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, do we have any mayoral vetoes?
Chair, there are no mayoral vetoes.
Okay. Are there any persons here for public comments on any of the items that will be heard today in today's agenda? If there are, would you please come to the podium?
Yes,
Good
my name
morning.
is, good morning. My name is Doug Mayer. I live at 1101 Cortez Street, Coral Gables, Florida. I'm here to speak on PH2, which is funding for an affordable housing development in Commissioner King's district. It's called Citadel Village. This is a project that the Haitian American CDC, who I work for, has been working on for almost 4 years now. This is the last piece of funding that we need in order to have this project fully funded. It's approximately a $34 million development with 96 units of affordable housing. I wanted to express, first of all, our support that we have gotten from Mayor Suarez's office. Starting 3 years ago, he has been a supporter of this project, but today, it would not have happened if it hadn't have been for Commissioner King's support of this project. It's in her district. It will impact people that live in, in District 5, but it is a citywide project. We're grateful also, Mr. Noriega, for your staff, in particular George Mensa, Alfredo Duran, and Maria Azan, who all helped get this project over the line. I just wanted to say thank you, and we appreciate everything that everyone has done to get this moving forward.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Elvis.
Good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
Good.
I have a PowerPoint. Okay, there we go. All right, thank you so much. Commissioners, I'm here regarding items RE10 and FR4, which deal with sea level rise, flooding, and bay walks. I have very good news.
Hold on one second, Elvis. RE10 was deferred?
No.
No? No. Okay, go ahead, Elvis.
Thank you. I have very good news on those topics. As you know, Alice Wainwright Park recently got this new seawall. Here it is being installed. Limestone boulders were placed up against the seawall to provide several benefits. They dissipate wave energy, prevent scouring of the bay bottom by wave action, and they create an artificial reef. Please notice how bright white the new boulders were on March 26, 2021. Here are those boulders only 10 months later on January 27th, 2022. You can see how the artificial reef of boulders now has a thriving colony of marine plant growth, providing a food source, shelter, and structure for small fish and water-filtering oysters among the many gaps and crevices. Those boulders have created a living shoreline without planting mangroves, which would block the bay view and impede water access. This is what should be done at Morningside Park, a seawall along the shoreline with an artificial reef, instead of the Nature Conservancy's horrible plan, which would take 80,000 square feet of Morningside Park's precious waterfront recreational green space and picnic area and turn it into a mangrove swamp that would block the view forever. The public currently enjoys picnics, family portraits, and even weddings along the Morningside Park shoreline, but all these areas would be lost under the proposed plan. Please do not let an outside agency take our precious waterfront in a misguided attempt at environmentalism that would do absolutely nothing to correct the water pollution problem in North Biscayne Bay, which has been shown to be caused by the Little River, not the shoreline of Morningside Park.
Thank you, Elvis.
I just have 10 seconds, may I?
I have to stick to the 2-minute because I've been very strict about that to allow everyone to be able to speak. And it would show favoritism to you, and then everybody will know you're my favorite neighbor. Thank you, Elvis.
I did lose some time at the beginning with the questions that were asked, but
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Kemp?
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for what you do. And I know sometimes it's difficult, and you have to make decisions that are legally binding. And on that same note, I also want to bring it to your attention that I'm here to speak on the items PZ 10 and 11. Those items, because of the fact that they have absolutely no legal justification for requesting the changing on the zoning, that these things should be denied. And also, because of the fact that Planning and Zoning Board denied these items 8-0 unanimously because they had absolutely no merit. And the item that's 920 Northwest 42nd Street, the City of Miami granted special access for them to use that area for parking with special provisions as far as buffing and shrubbery and no access to the public. And they, at that time, said that they would not be requesting a zoning change because it was not a requirement to do that, because the city already granted them permission to utilize that because it was a school. Now they're coming saying they want to upzone it. I mean, what can you believe with somebody that tells you they're not going to do something, come back, turn around, and then request it? They revoked the first time. And the other one, 4136, that was just something they couldn't do no matter what because the zoning did not allow it. 19 Northwest 41st Street, this is an area that already have adequate transition from zoning 3 to zoning 4. And if I'm not mistaken, the petitioner for this one is asking to change a T3 zoning to a T4 when there's already a T4 existing, which means there's absolutely, again, no merit, no requirement for even to request that in such a manner. Again, this has been unanimously denied by Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you.
Please respect that as city officials and do what's legally right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Reynold Martin of 3325 Percival Avenue in Coconut Grove. I am here as the Vice President of Coconut Grove Homeowners and Tenants Association and the President of the Community Advisory Committee of Coconut Grove. I'm here to support PZ9 and to read a letter from our President of the Holder organization who is not able to be here. She states that Holder restates our Executive Board's support of agenda item PZ9 As you are aware, this adoption of this item allows the transfer of responsibility of reviewing and making recommendations to the planning department on applications that request demolition, construction, and additions and such, as properties within Village West, Island District, and Historical Charles Avenue in the NCD2, from the Urban Design Review Board to the Historic and Environmental Review Board. The Commission passed this item unanimously on the first reading on December 9th, 2021, and we are hoping that the same outcome occurs today. That would provide us with a sense of relief that stricter adherence to the Miami zoning codes guidelines would now be applied, and this result is better maintain the community's unique character that would not evaporate without this resolution. Thank you, Clarice Cooper, President of Village West Homeowners and Tenants Association.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. David Winker. I represent the Buena Vista Heights Neighborhood Association. We're going to be moving to intervene on this item at the time. Rosa Ramos lives within 500 feet. Ulysses Kemp lives within 1,000, so however you guys want to handle that. I wanted to address a couple issues here. This was unanimously, let me back up. David Winker, 4720 South Lejeune Road. This item was unanimously rejected by PZAB, voted to turn it down, and for good reason. The code requires that the applicant demonstrate why the current zoning doesn't work. They did not do that because they can't. There's plenty of land that's appropriate for this. Ms. Ramos is going to speak next and talk about, how this affects the neighborhood. And so we look forward to hearing you on that item. And like I said, we're going to move to intervene on that item so we can give a little further evidence. If it's okay, I'd like to hand out to everyone and the clerk a brief summary of the issues.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Guillermo de la Paz, and I reside at 3441 Charles Avenue. I'm here to speak on related to the item zoning 9, which is the Charles Avenue issue. Before I said that, I would like to thank every commissioner who was here when the police chief was fired. I really appreciate what you guys did for the city. Charles Avenue is a small street that goes from Main Highway to 37. It's about 65 homes and 11 empty lots. Whether you decide to approve or deny this legislation is going to affect or benefit all those people. This is a typical houses on the street. None of these houses are historic except 3 houses. This house on the right on the top, I believe you guys are aware of Commissioner Thelma Gibson. If you look to the right, the purple house, that's where she lives. She's not here to oppose that. That white house is part of a family member who inherited that lot and was able to build his house. And I was inspired by that family, and I built my house very close to that. The rest of the street have different type of architecture. None of these houses are historic. This is a result of historic designation without a budget or a plan. This is the result of historic designation, sales for 208 and 200,000 on the market where average sales price in Coconut Grove is $1.8 million. This is what we do to the residents of that area. Here's my question. Why we don't focus on the correct things? Here's the garbage that we are allowed to receive.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Good morning, Commissioners. Hope everything is well with all of you. My name is Rosa Ramos. I live at 80 Northwest 41st Street, and I am here to protest on the zoning change. We've been coming back and forth with the school, and now they want, last time we came in, we won the case because the zoning the zoning board voted 8-0, like Kempen said. And all of a sudden now they wanted more zoning changes. When the first time they came, they decided that they weren't going to use the new zoning. They were just going to keep it the way they were, and that they weren't going to do no zoning. Now all of a sudden they want zoning. They're going into the neighborhood. The neighborhood doesn't want all of this. You know, we're trying to keep our neighborhood together, and it's just making it difficult for a lot of people for the way they think they're doing. So hopefully you guys listen to everything and understand that we don't want our neighborhood to change. We don't want it to become a commercial area. We already have Midtown. We have the Art District that's already moving in. We need to keep our area as much as we can. Most of us are all elderly. We're getting a lot of new people coming into the neighborhood. They're changing the housing. They're changing the styles of the houses, making it more presentable. And bringing in the business to come into the neighborhood is taken away from everything. So thank you for listening, and I hope you understand what our views are, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Seeing none, the public comment period has been closed. Gentlemen, is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? So, Madam City Attorney, can you read the items into the record?
Chair, my apologies. Who was the seconder?
I move it.
It was moved by Commissioner Russell.
Commissioner Carollo seconded, or vice versa, but I heard it.
Commissioner Croyo seconded.
Chair, for the consent items, I don't think we need to read anything. Are you asking me for certain?
No, you can just, so everybody is clear, CA1, CA2.
Okay, the items, CA1, CA2, CA1, CA2, CA3, CA4, CA5, CA6, CA7, and CA8.
All in favor?
Aye.
Items pass. Do I have a motion for the PH items?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, there is an amendment for PH2. It is simply item PH2 on the February 10, 2022 City Commission agenda is being substituted so that the resolution is consistent with the exhibit. That's it.
Okay.
So moved, as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I have a resolution for, do I have a motion for our RE items?
So moved,
Do I have a
with the
second?
exception of RE9.
That's been deferred, I believe.
I know, just to make sure.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I would like to discuss RE10 and RE11, if you'd pull those separately, please.
Okay, would like to discuss RE10 and RE11.
I believe RE 11 is going to be amended further. Mr. Leal, is it RE 11 that you want to amend further?
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, City Attorney. Yes, it's a very small amendment. There are representatives here of the production company. I think are going to make Miami look great. And they request it because the current draft of the resolution is very specific. And if they have a shutdown because of COVID or because of weather or because of something that is essentially out of their hand or they had requested if they can have the run or show, as I've learned that term, which is from February 14th to July 29th. It's not in the current draft, so we would like it to be slightly amended and hopefully passed regarding that item. If there are any questions, the representatives here, but it's a heli stop. And thank you for your consideration.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Leal, are you supporting this item because you're speaking in a way that you're advocating for them?
Yes, we sponsored the resolution, and we think that because we sponsored it, we are supportive of it. We just want to add some flexibility in terms of their way of handling the heli stops at that location.
Got it. So I do have some concerns from the local businesses on Virginia Key as well as the environmentalists where this impact will be taking place. So I just wanted to take the item separately, Madam Chair.
Okay. Anything else? So do I have a motion to pass RE1, RE2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
9 has been deferred.
Yes, sir.
Yes, to be discussed. So I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So Commissioner Russell, you want to hear RE10?
Yes, please.
So I will start with you.
Thank you. I discussed this with staff during my briefing, and I would like to hear their case for why dividing the funds now and allowing each commissioner to allocate more quickly, which is good, might leave a lot of money on the table. Mr. Ihekweaba had said that keeping it together and going out to leverage can allow him to multiply the funds before we divide it up. And I want to decide among us whether waiting for that and seeing how much it could take and how much we could leverage is worth the delay in dividing it and spending it now. There may be benefits to either, so before I make a decision, I would love to hear from the administration on their thoughts.
Good morning, Zeri Ihekweaba, Deputy City Manager. Commissioner, with all due respect, I think the conversation was making sure that the city has enough funds in case any of the grant applications we've submitted is successful, so that we have enough money in the bank for the matching funds. Some of those applications are already successful. In the past 2 weeks, the governor had already made some announcements. Some of the projects already would come true, and we want to make sure that whatever you divide these funds into, each of the commissioners will have enough funds allocated to them to be able to provide the matching funds. Some commissioners may have enough funds, some might not. So you want to be very careful how this will be done in case you run into that challenge eventually.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
So even though on the books, the line items of the budget will be divided amongst commissioners, it's still in the general fund in a way that you could apply for these grants with the money in aggregate, in a sense. The only thing that might divide it is if it were divided by project, and then you wouldn't be able to apply for a larger grant if you've got a lot of small projects, if that grant applies to one large project. Is that correct?
That probably would be speculative on my part to predict what's going to happen in the future. I just wanted to sound a note of caution that if you divide it today, 1 or 2 commissioners might run the risk of not having matching funds when your application comes through.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Reyes?
following on what Mr. Iyakawa has said, we, with the will of the commission, we set aside $50 million for a project that is a huge drainage project that will solve the whole neighborhood flooding problem. And the governor, a few days back, he announced that it is matching our funds and for that project, and we were able to obtain $15 million from the state because we did it like that. You see, this doesn't mean that all the projects are going to be, all the money is going to be allocated the way that we are proposing it for each district. It will give the districts the flexibility, and everybody knows the way that matching funds work. But $5 million are going to be set aside. But when we said let's split it, doesn't mean that we are going to be participant in that split again. You see, we already, whatever comes to our side, comes to our district, it will be, those $15 million will be deducted from it. And if something is left, then we will do it. But that will give every single one of us the flexibility to apply for matching funds as we did. If we don't have it like this, that's going to happen is that we might lose those $15 million. Am I right, Mr. Iyakawa?
Commissioner, you're absolutely correct. If we don't have the matching funds in the bank, when the grant is approved, you run the risk of missing the grant completely. So my concern is let's leave enough in the reserve in case that were to happen.
That's right.
So if I read through the document, I think it's about $25 million that's been left in the reserve.
Yes.
I don't know whether that's going to be enough based on the volume of grant applications we've put out there. If any of them were to be successful next week, we might be coming back to reallocate money again. So that could be an option.
Commissioner DLP?
Okay, so I see two parts, Zeri. The first one is really allocating $177 million plus, that we can then later on decide how it's going to spend on different projects. There's no specific equal distribution to the 5 districts, correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, the second part is $5 million to each district, $25 million. Walk me through that one.
So I think the items states that $25 million will be a reserve for future citywide use. And
but it says allocated to each district. Does that mean that the district commissioners pick which city project they want to allocate those dollars to?
I don't know. That's not very clear to me how that 25 would be divvied up later on. But I would suspect it would be based on need and the grant application that is successful.
So hypothetically, one district gets the whole $25 million.
It's for the city of Miami. It's always good to have money in the bank. So if one district has a project of $50 million and we are required to fund 25, we can take the 25 and fund it.
So this allocation is not split among 5 districts equally. The way I read it, if I read it correctly, is that it says $5 million for each district.
We'll go into a central pot.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me ask, well, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, can I speak? Thank you. Let me ask the following questions. Why, if some of our poorest neighborhoods are some of the ones that are...
Commissioner, I can't hear you well.
Let me get this up. If many of our poorest neighborhoods are the ones that are being affected the most by sea level rise, why are we dividing this equally and not through the API numbers?
Right.
To help the poorest areas that would require the help on sea level rise?
Commissioner, my understanding is that the division of the funds is being allocated equally based on the priorities established in the sea level rise stormwater report, master plan report that we received from a consultant. What the commissioner is trying to do here is to make sure that each of the commissioner has the flexibility to perhaps go back and reprioritize that project.
I'm sorry, that's not the question that I asked. Now,
I don't see the relationship between API and stormwater. That's what I'm saying.
There certainly is. Sea level rise affects not just the areas that are next to the bay, the Miami River, which some of our poorest neighborhoods are facing that river, but it affects many of our inner urban neighborhoods because of the condition of sea level rise. Now, you're not breaking that down into those poorest neighborhoods that will be affected. You've taken the decision for whatever reason, and then you started going into another area of trying to explain to me why that had nothing to do with my original question of why you were doing this. It doesn't make sense to me. For instance, in Commissioner King's district, she, in this format, gets 5. In the API, she would get much more because the poorest district in the city is hers. After that comes mine, and then Commissioner Diaz-Portillo's. And his and mine not only both have great areas in the Miami River that are very poor, but in the urban areas, we have all kinds of flooding now that we never had before because of sea level rise. So does Commissioner King in her district. And she also, on top of that, has bay areas. So the fairest way to divide this, and this is a policy decision, not a management decision,
Of course.
is through the API numbers. And that's what I would be in favor of.
Madam Chair?
I would agree.
Commissioner
Commissioner.
Diaz to speak.
Thank you. I would agree with Commissioner Carollo, and that's sort of the point I was trying to make, the even distribution of the 5, just to get clarification of the 5 districts of $5 million. But a further point would be, why do we need to do this at all right now? If everything is by future resolution, what's the need to do this allocation right now? And if we're going to do it, then I agree with Commissioner Carollo that we need to do it according to the API. Because it is true that in the 3 poorest districts, Commissioner Carollo's, Commissioner King's, and mine, we have serious sea level rise issues. And that we probably need to prioritize those poor areas in our city, not doing this even distribution.
Madam
No,
Chair.
So I agree.
It is my.
Wait, one
But
second.
let me, it's a question to him first.
When you finish.
Why do we need to do this today? What's the reason behind this?
Commissioner, I've just been reminded that quite a few of the applications for grants were actually in those poor neighborhoods. And from my understanding from the sponsor of this item is that by dividing it today or perhaps in the near future, gives each of you the flexibility on how you want to apply the matching funds to your.
But is there a deadline that this has to be done today?
No.
No.
Well, it's
Or either the
already-
177 million or plus, or the 25 million, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But if we want to do it, let me finish, it's done. But if we want to do it, we also have the ability to do it, as Commissioner Carrera suggested, according to the API, correct?
I have difficulty understanding the connection, the nexus between API and
Well,
sea level
that's why I'm
rise.
asking you, because they whispered in your ear, maybe they could whisper into the microphone, and tell us why there's a $5 million allocation per district in the language of this resolution.
Well, this is coming from District
Well,
4.
I understand, but staff reviews everything that we do, so is there someone in your staff that can tell us why you're doing an even district?
We still feel very strongly that we need to have a reserve somehow, in case any of
That's not the
these grants.
question, that's not the question.
So what's the question?
Why is it a $5 million distribution in the language here that says per district? What's the reasoning behind it?
Can I
don't
answer
have-
that
He
question?
did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
okay.
hold
Can I
on.
answer
Okay,
that question?
let me weigh in here. Let me weigh in here. I was under the impression that staff would be coming around to each of the commissioners to do a workshop on this particular item, and that staff was going to defer it because we hadn't appropriately gotten briefed on all of the issues that we are presenting today. And I agree, if it has to be distributed, it should be distributed pursuant to the API guidelines for the reasons that my colleagues have stated. But because we haven't gotten the workshop, perhaps we would feel differently once staff presented the pros and the cons and the ramifications of us not moving forward. So I would like to propose that we defer this item to the next commission meeting so as to give staff an opportunity to meet with all of us to go over this item so we would feel more comfortable on deciding.
Yeah, I would place
Hold on a
a
second.
motion
Let
for
me
deferral.
answer a couple of questions. It's my item.
Okay, hold on. Oh, I'm going to come right back to you because Commissioner Russell had his hand up, and then I'm going to go right to you.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would agree with you on the request for deferral, and I'll be happy to make that motion if not Commissioner Carollo. But the question Zeri, there is a relationship between stormwater and neighborhoods of need, and the main relationship is that those neighborhoods of need get neglected when stormwater gets discussed. When the Sea Level Rise Committee had been formed before I came into office, I recognized it did not have a social justice seat on it, and this commission canceled the Sea Level Rise Committee and reconstituted it with a social justice seat to make sure discussions around stormwater and sea level rise did include the neighborhoods of need. And so I was worried actually when the master plan came out, the stormwater master plan, that it would disproportionately fund the waterfront of the city. And I knew that would be a political difficulty as well. I was very glad to see that the projects are spread throughout the city because scientifically the need is throughout the city.
Yeah.
I don't believe it disproportionately affects neighborhoods of need more than the waterfront. I believe we go by the science as opposed to the API. And that tells us exactly where to spend. Each of us has way more than $5 million of need in our districts. So for sure, this bond does not cover all of our needs. And that's why I was just worried that if we allocate too soon and we lose any grant possibilities, we can't leverage the money to really give the power it needs. So I'd be happy for the deferral as well. And I'm happy to make sure that all districts, especially neighborhoods of need, are not neglected.
Commissioner?
May I?
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner Mendoza.
Listen, the way, what we tried to do, those funds were sitting there, and we saw the opportunity that it's going to be, there's a grant that was established by the state. And according to even the master plan, there is an area that it is in dire need of, drainage programs. We need also to have injection wells and all of that. That it will amount to millions and millions of dollars. So what we did is we said, okay, we're going to ask $15 million from this pot so we can get matching funds from the state. And we brought it to the state, and the governor the other day announced that amongst the grants that they were going to be were going to be granted, that request was going to be met. Okay? Now, the $5 million that we propose is in case that any district, it is go to a pot, goes to a pot that is going to be administered by the city, and any district that requires additional funds that will go and be able to obtain funds from that pot for additional grant requests for that district. And I tend to, I don't disagree with API, the relationship between API and drainage needs or sea level rising. At this moment, in the city of Miami, the area that it is more affected than any other area, it's the area around Brickell Avenue, which is one of the richest area and is the one of the that needs the most. I think that this should be on need of who is being affected by drainage problems and by sea level rise. I have that hot spot that when it rains, the streets become river. Literally, and I have pictures, and I brought those pictures when we went to Tallahassee with our request. We brought the pictures and we brought everything, all the analysis and all of that. And we were fortunate enough to obtain that grant. Now, my only fear is you want to postpone this, it is the decision of the majority. But my only fear is that by deferring this and not being on time, match the funds, we are going to lose $15 million for a project that's going to benefit the whole city of Miami, because if benefits my district, benefit yours, whatever. And I will support and back any other project in the city of Miami that we improve the quality of life of that neighborhood. I don't care what the neighborhood is at.
Mr. Manager?
Madam Chair?
Yes. If we defer this item to the next commission meeting, will we run afoul of any deadlines to receive matching funds?
Let me check with staff, sir.
Please.
¿Quieren perder los 15 millones?
You're making sense.
Good morning, Lillian Blondet, Office of Grants Administration. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm pleased we were just doing the numbers of all the grants that we received in the last 6 months, and it's in excess of $120 million for resiliency projects all throughout the city. We're working on the list right now so we can give it to you per district, but we follow the departments. We work very closely with them to make sure that the commissioner's priorities are represented when we apply for the grants. We also look at the grants and what they required to select projects that give us the better chance and opportunities to be funded. And that strategy has worked very, very well. Just by, I have a staff of 2 people, 2.5, and in the last year we've gotten, over probably 130.
So all I'm trying to get to is,
So-
if we defer this item to February 24th, will we run afoul of a deadline and
No.
We will not. So I think it would be safe for us to defer this item until February 24th, so staff can come by and do the workshops with each of us, so we'll be more knowledgeable and have more confidence in what this administration is asking us to do.
Some of the projects you start seeing coming soon, those may not require matching because they were CDBG mitigation grants. The ones that we just received recently, probably you have a little bit more time.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's my,
Yes.
I want to move it myself.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, I'm going to move it myself, but I want you all to keep in mind that this is not a money grab or anything. This is using the funds that we have and being divided by need, divided by need, that we are using those, I mean, we've been chopping around and we are looking for additional funds in order to improve the quality of life of our city. And we found that grant that it was established because we have notice of that grant that was established by the state. And immediately we jumped at the opportunity of trying to solve that area's problem by matching the funds.
That's great, that's great. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was the deferral?
Deferral.
What's the date?
February 24th.
Thank you.
And if I may add, could please administration go office by office and the grant the department also, and explain what was tried and how can we benefit by jumping into every opportunity that we have to obtain additional funds, be it the state or the federal government or private institutions to that effect.
Thank you. RE11?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is a permit to allow for the filming of a new show, and they're trying to film a scene where it looks like they're in the Bahamas, I believe, and so they want to use Virginia Key, and I fully understand that. I want to encourage more, use of our city for this. I think this is great to support the entertainment industry, and hopefully it's a revenue for our city. I want us to be careful when we do it that we don't negatively impact businesses right en route to where they are operating. Not only is it the North Point Beach, there's the Virginia Key Outdoor Center that has regular customers for kayaking and students and programs. And there's also the mountain bike trails directly in front of where they're filming. So I know they had a meeting out there. Hello. I believe they had a meeting out with the different stakeholders yesterday, and I want to make sure that the stakeholders' concerns are represented in this permit and this agreement, and that we have the word of the applicant to do so. The other concern is environmentally, the dune right where they're filming, they're creating a mock construction site, I believe, for the show, is a dune that is managed by the City Parks Department, our naturalist, as well as Frost Science Museum, and they're very meticulous on what plants are there, and we want to make sure we're not trampling the sea oats and important things like that. So I just wanted to ask a few questions of the applicant to see if they're open so we can put their their points on the record. Good morning.
Good morning.
If they could
Please
introduce
proceed if you would introduce yourself. Yeah, my name is Beverly Visitation, and I've had the privilege of working in the Miami film industry for over 30 years. So very excited to be working with this project that is a Warner Brothers Apple TV by the name of Bad Monkey, based on a book by Carl Hiaasen. And we're here and hoping that the city would be happy to have us here, and we're happy to work here and to create what will be a postcard of the city of Miami for the public.
Thank you. Madam Chair, if through you, what agreements did you come to any agreements with the stakeholders at that part of Virginia Key on what concessions would be made from your part to preserve their business and access to the beach and trails?
We've done due diligence before we have begun this project. You know, we start off by working with the Miami Film Office. We work with the City of Miami Police. We work with with this particular thing of the helicopter, with the FAA. We've just received our permit from the Florida Department of Aviation. And just to say that we have in the past, and I've worked in this industry for a long time, landed a helicopter in this very same place on many occasions without any impact to the environment. We also, to say that we are bringing to the city over $80 million in this project. We hope to be here more than this one season. We hope to be here for the next 3 years, filming in different parts of our city. But yes, we have spoken to all of the people involved. I've made a list of all the people that we've actually met with. We've met with the Virginia Outdoor Center. We've met with John Voss, the treasurer of the Bike Club, hoping to be good stewards and to work. But mostly, we've been dealing with both of the two environmentalists that work that area, because there are some invasive trees that the city has marked for removal, and we, since it will assist us as well, are going to pay for the removal of those trees, working closely with the two main environmentalists that work there, Gloria Antia and Etienne Perez. So they are going to oversee the work that we do. They are working closely with us, and we want to be good stewards of the property.
Thank you. The original permit was, I believe, for about 10 days. How many days do you actually need to film on site?
These issue, it's, like pinning us down to certain days, is that we have issues that arrive. One being we could get shut down for COVID, we could have actor availability, we could have weather. We hope to use this location repeatedly throughout our season, but when we come in, we film perhaps 1 day or 2 days of actual filming, and then come back in another episode. Right now, we have 10 episodes. We'll be filming Miami and in the Keys as well. So it's hard to say exactly, pinpoint the exact dates we'll be there. We have prep, where we begin setting our scene. We have shoot, and then we remove, clean, leave the area as we found it. So the timing is hard for me to say.
Thank you. So access to the bike trail would be my greatest concern. The Virginia Key Outdoor Center is a little further down the road from you, so hopefully there's minimal impact to them at all. The bike trail, though, because the helicopter lands right at their entrance, will they be disrupted? Will there be days it can't be used?
For safety, the scene of the helicopter, just so we don't make it bigger than it is, a helicopter comes in, it lands, an individual gets off, and it leaves. That is the entire scene of the helicopter. But when filming, we would have to work closely with the people at the bike trails so that there's safety involved for all concerned. Not just for the scene when the helicopter lands, but for our filming as well. And we are working closely with John Voss.
Thank you. The question is, would there be entire days where they would not have access to the trails or no?
It could be a day, yes. It could be, if we're filming a daytime scene, our filming dates are usually a 10-hour day. So we could restrict them, and we would work with them, you know, to let them know in advance what day we would be filming there. But it's not like we're there every day.
Got it. Madam Chair, I'd just like to make a couple amendments then, holding them to restrictions with strict compliance on environmental and working with our naturalists to preserve and maximize public access to the trails and beaches with no disruption of existing businesses. I'm very supportive of this. I don't want you to get the wrong impression here, but there's a lot of open-ended, there's not defined dates. And so I'd like us to, I'm going to be listening as the district commissioner to those stakeholders out there to see if the disruption is to the point where we should bring this back. Because at first it was one scene, and now I'm hearing potentially an entire season would be filmed, including that site at different times, which is okay if you know, if it works out. So I'm supportive, but we just ask for those amendments.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Is there a second? Victoria, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Chair. If there is a second and it passes, it's as amended with the dates and for the manager to negotiate any fees, because it's a little different than had been originally discussed.
She said she's paying us $80 million. Was that right?
No.
That's it?
Commissioners, the only item that I would ask, given what we heard from the applicant as an amendment, if the commissioners are inclined, is because of the limitations and trying to pigeonhole them in a particular date and time, but I would humbly request that they have that flexibility, given that they've done this before, they've done it for many years, they are engaged with the businesses that are there, and they're going to have as minimal disruption as possible. I want to be able that they don't have to come here again, so they can keep their business going forward, to have the flexibility for February 14th to July for them to be able to film that. So if for whatever reason one of those dates that is listed doesn't work out, they have that flexibility. That's respectfully what we've worked with the applicant, and we worked with the city attorney's office as well. So make sure that there's that clarity. So if there's a will, we would respectfully request to have at least that to be amended and to be passed as amended, respectfully.
And it's
Commissioner
not
Russell?
sorry, it's
Accept
not a
that.
lease, a revocable license. I heard lease. It's not a
No.
revocable license.
No, Victoria, what I was talking, that I worked with your office, and that because of the specificity of the dates, we wanted for them to enjoy some flexibility.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
no
understand, but
lease.
I heard the word lease, and this is not a lease.
Correct.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would accept those amendments in the motion.
Commissioner Caro, Commissioner DLB?
Okay, there's a motion, it's not a second. I didn't hear a second on the
No.
motion. So I have a question to Mr. Leal. Are you okay with these amendments? Because I believe they may tie their hands a little bit in what they need to do, and I think they need flexibility.
I think there might be.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner. You have the floor.
I'm a big advocate of filming in Miami, in the state of Florida. When I was in the state senate, I always fought for that every year, and we were successful sometimes, unsuccessful other times, and we've seen over the decades lose a lot of business to Georgia, to Canada, Vancouver back then, and these tying of people's hands when they come here just kind of turns them off, for lack of a better term, as to coming to Miami. We want to showcase our city. We want you to come to Miami and want you to feel comfortable with the proper, requirements and everything else, but you would oppose these amendments that Commissioner Rosso is proposing?
I never want to be necessarily adverse.
Would
to
the
those
mayor's office oppose those, is my question?
But my request would be, Commissioner Russell, I think your concerns can be and will be addressed, because there will be a revocable license that will be entered, and if the applicant, let's just say, misbehaves or is not a good steward, then the manager will be able to, from your office or our office or anybody's office, pull the plug. So I think that if we can amend only as it relates to those dates and have some flexibility for them, I would respectfully request that let's amend only on that time frame, and if there's issues, the manager and that revocable license agreement can pull the plug and they won't be able to film there.
Madam
That's-
Chair? Eddie, which of my amendments are you against? The asking them to comply with environmental restrictions? Because they're going to get rules about where they can set up and so they don't trample the things. Like literally for 6 years, I've been going out to that dune with Frost Science and our naturalists and planting and removing, and it's very specific. I'm not trying to stop them, slow them down, but we're just asking them to comply with what the naturalist says. And then preserving access to the trails and beaches. They're saying they want to, so I'm just asking them to honor that as an amendment in.
My concern regarding there's two items that you've mentioned. The second one, which is deal with the trail, they might, because of safety reasons, have to shut down the entrance to that trail because, I mean, I'm not in that industry, but I can imagine, I've had doing a few joyrides on a helicopter, you have to shut down for safety. You don't want anybody walking there or getting on a bike or, God forbid, gets in the wrong lane. So there will be, I think, minimal disruption, but the value that we get from having them come out and produce is significant. It's outweighed. So I think that amendment is, we might not need that because there will be some disruption.
How about a
but
make
minimal.
best efforts to preserve public access? Because right now, as they get as we expand the permit, and she says, well, we could shut it down for a day. It could be at any time. It could be 5 days. It could be 10 days. So I would like to set the intention in the permit that they are working to.
Commissioner, if we could have reasonable efforts, I feel like I'm wordsmithing here with you.
Why? just let the amendment roll.
Right now.
Support me in that with the mayor's office. That would be great.
What's right?
Support me in that amendment with the mayor's office. That would be great.
Yes, if we can talk about reasonable efforts to handle the environmental and trail, I think that we could be all supportive because we don't want to disrupt
I think so
businesses.
I think so as well. And
Okay.
because we have the authority, Commissioner Russell, to revoke the license at any time.
That's what I said.
So I think we can move forward now, if that is the will of the body,
Thank you.
with the,
Reasonable efforts.
Which amendments?
We'll include all of them, if that's the commission's will, where we talk about reasonableness in terms of the impact to business and reasonable efforts for the environmental. They've said it on the record that they've landed there and they're taken care of, and they've already spoken to the environmentalists and the folks that are there. So I think that we don't have to be divided on this issue. I think it covers your.
I'm just asking for some guidance in the permit, so it's in writing, not just in our minutes, but it just says they will work together to preserve access as much as possible, that they will work with our naturalists. I don't think that's an unreasonable amendment to request.
No additional comments from my part. I think we're on the same page. And I think the
Great.
city attorney's office here will wordsmith it. And again, as chairmanwoman, if there's an issue, pull the plug.
Commissioner,
I just want to make sure.
Commissioner DLP.
You can wordsmith it all you want. I want to make sure that the term reasonable efforts is there. So they have to close it down for safety reasons. And somebody that cannot bike that day, I'm okay with that because I'd rather have the $80 million and somebody not bike one particular day.
I agree with you,
Right?
Commissioner. That's why
important.
I agree with you,
So that's very
Commissioner.
important. So I think if I'll support it, it has reasonable efforts in it, not mandates
you.
it. That does not mandate it.
okay.
And
May I
just so we're
have-
clear, how much are we receiving in the permit? What is the city receiving directly from this?
The
Well,
manager.
given the extension of time, that's going to be negotiated. So I don't know that we have an actual dollar amount associated with it. Now that they are requesting more flexibility and more time, we're going to negotiate a more reasonable rate.
Just get more money for the city. That's important.
Yes, that's
all
what
we need.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
And
I'm
Chair,
sorry,
just for
Todd.
clarification, Commissioner Russell, you're okay with the amendments as stated with reasonable?
Yes. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 As
Motion
amended.
passes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we are now starting our second reading ordinances. Are there any ordinances that anyone would like to discuss?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Which one?
SR1, please, the pension retirement plan.
Okay. Any others?
If I could take SR2 just for a quick question that I have on it.
Okay.
Quick.
Any others? May I have a motion to pass SR3
So
and
moved.
SR4?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
And Mr. City Attorney will read the titles into the record.
I'm sorry, which items?
SR3 and SR4.
Thank you. SR3 is an ordinance of the Miami City Commission modifying the number of attorneys in the office of the city attorney with funding, if needed, to be approved by separate resolution containing a separate clause and providing for an effective date. SR4 is an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 62, Article 16, Section 62-655 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida is amended, titled Art and Public Places Board, more particularly by amending Section 62-655, subsection C, subsection 4, to specify that the Art and Public Places Board's approval with conditions, or denial of proposed installations, dedications, or donations of art based on the Public Art Program Guidelines and Public Art Master Plan is not applicable to proposed installations, dedications, or donations of art that have been approved by the Miami City Commission, containing a repealer provision, containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you. On SR1, it's amending Chapter 40 Pension and Retirement Plan. This is a discussion about the drop and the term of the drop. Currently, they have 4 years for our general employees, where police and fire have 7 years. Sean Moy of AFSCME has sent over an actuarial table to my office, and he said he sent it also to the city attorney's office, showing that having the general employees match what the police and fire have at a 7-year drop instead of 4 would not have a financial impact on the city. I'm not the expert in this field, but I would love to hear the administration's position on that, and if it needs further analysis to confirm that actuarial table, I'm in favor of extending to 7 if it doesn't have a negative impact on the city, and if there's concern about how it does have impact, I'm happy to defer the item.
So, Mr. Manager, if you will, that is a term of employment that is subject to collective bargaining. That is not an item that can be addressed today or through the legislative process.
I believe they expressed a willingness to waive their rights to collective bargaining on this issue.
That is something that we would need to negotiate with a memorandum
I
of
believe they've already
understanding,
sent that to you.
and something that would have to be approved by the commission. That is not something that can just be done today.
So you haven't received a waiver of collective bargaining rights from them?
We have not received an MOU agreeing to waive any of their collective bargaining rights or any UPL.
Have you done an analysis on the actuarial table that they presented on the financial impact of the city?
We have not. That is an item for the administration. I don't know if they have.
As
had
the
the
administration?
Good morning, Commissioners. Fernando Casamayor, Assistant City Manager, CFO. We did have the actuarial impact statement for the drop and a few other items that were negotiated at the table. It does not have a significant financial impact extending the drop. However, I will defer to the Law Department regarding whether this is the right way to do this or not.
Mr. Casamayor, through the chair, when you say significant, you define the term significant? 20 million, 10 million is significant?
A few $1,000, possibly.
100,000.
But you know how actuarials work.
Yes, I do.
You know, it's a lot of maybe could happen in the future type stuff.
It's a lot of projections and based on different.
It's past, possible future, and magic dust.
Future
Yes, sir.
and all that.
Can I add a little context to this too, so that we're kind of clear? Sean Moy came to me a couple of days ago, Commissioner, and to bring this issue up. I told him I'd look into it. I don't think this is the appropriate format to address this. I think I committed to him that I would look into it, review it, and get back to him. I'm not sure that it makes sense to do this at the dais.
Would you need 2 weeks or 4 weeks?
Give me 4.
Then I'd like to proffer a motion to defer the item for 1 month. That's all right?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion deferred.
And Chair-
Item is deferred,
And Chair, for the record, that'll be March 10th.
March 10th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carollo?
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, since you're the sponsor of this, I'm going to ask for a clarification. Is this intended to be for homestead properties?
No. No.
Well, I thought that's what you were covering with this.
No, it's not. It is, well, it is for the properties, most of the time it is, it could be not only homestead, it could be any property. Any property.
Madam Chair, if I may, There is a limitation that it be limited to 10 acres or more.
It have to be 10 acres or more.
So that obviously
Okay.
that's-
And it is a program that Commissioner Keen added, that is going to be sunset.
No, you clarified it, 10 acres or more, that's fine.
10 acres.
Okay, if it's 10 acres or more, that's fine.
Are we ready
That
to?
would not affect me
No.
in my district, so
No, at all.
that's fine.
And it sunsets in a year.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Move it.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, the title.
It's an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 55 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Subdivision Regulations by amending Section 5510, titled Building Permit Issuance Restrictions Exceptions to include an exception to allow a permit to be issued for undivided land in certain circumstances with a sunset provision containing a substitute clause and providing for an effective date.
All in favor?
aye.
Motion passes. Gentlemen, do we have any items for the first reading ordinances that you would like to discuss?
FR3, please.
FR3. Any others?
Let's see. Is FR2 going to be discussed today, or? Commissioner?
Mr. City Attorney, is FR2 still a viable ordinance? I understand that the ordinance, that the laws have changed and it's no longer hourly rentals and it's now 4 hours. So has that rendered this ordinance moot?
It is not moot per se. If the desire of the body is for this item to proceed, it should not proceed today because we need to make those amendments that you're referencing. Since when this originally was on the agenda in June, that is when the other ordinance that you're referring to was passed. So it contains outdated language that would need to be updated, if that is the desire of the commission. The other option is to withdraw the item.
We're going to, FR2, correct?
Yes.
FR2.
If you could refresh our memories, when this commission passed the 4 hours minimum, did we include a provision that it would come back after a certain time, if I remember?
Yes,
That's
sir.
correct. So we had a compromise, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, through you, of course. Okay, well.
Yes, sir, the quote-unquote competing ordinance.
Excuse me?
The quote-unquote competing ordinance that was already adopted by the commission did have a provision in it that upon its adoption, the administration was to report back within 6 months as to the status of.
Okay, how much time has passed?
It's been 6 months, and I believe the administration is prepared to report.
Yes.
Okay.
If I make this my item, I think police chief is here, yes. He gave us in our briefings, I don't know if he gave it to everyone, what they've done in those 6 months. We kind of wanted to get an update, and then if we don't need additional language,
from
then
our
I'll
side,
withdraw it.
Okay,
Have
so,
we-
wait. So all I'm doing now is trying to determine what will be discussed. So we're going to
Okay.
discuss, we're going to pull that item for discussion. Okay?
Well, only for the chief to give his report and
Right.
then probably withdraw it.
Okay,
Right, but-
so,
If I remember correctly, if I could, Madam Chair, when we passed this, the report, the feedback was going to come not just from our own city, but from Coral Gables.
Correct.
Has Coral Gables been informed so they can be present?
okay, well, I'm just trying to
Madam
get to, I'm just trying to get to clearing up what we're going to pass now. So what we have remaining is FR1 and FR4. Do I have a motion for
Well, no, well, I'm sorry. Before, FR4, we're going to have a debate on FR4.
So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
So we want to
so-
debate FR4
So my
also?
motion would be that we pass FR1.
So can we pass FR1?
Yes, ma'am.
No, FR4 at
FR1 only.
FR1.
FR1, it's
Can we
fine
pass
with me.
FR1?
FR4, I have.
I'll move
Okay.
FR1.
Okay. Do I have a second for FR?
Yes.
Second. Could you read the title into the record?
Just FR1, an
Just-
ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 62, Article 13, Division 1, Section 62-526 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, is amended, titled Planning and Zoning, Zoning Approval for Temporary Uses and Occupancies, Permit Required, Temporary Event Permit, Novel Coronavirus Pilot Program for Vaccination and Testing Sites by amending the sunset date and adding approval for waiver of time constraints for special event permits containing a severability clause and providing for an immediate effective date.
Motion, may I have a vote?
Aye.
Motion, motion passes unanimously. Unanimously? Yes, motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we will hear FR2, Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla.
You call me by my whole name. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think our police chief is going to give us a very quick report on the progress that he's made on the ordinance that Commissioner Carroll and I co-sponsored about 6 months ago, where we are. And then we're probably going to withdraw this because we may no longer need it as we move forward in helping to address this issue that we have with the motels and the hourly rentals.
So good morning, everyone. Manny Morales, Interim Chief of Police. With our code director, I'll give you a little brief update of what we have done in reference to the hotel motel enforcement. I know the ordinance became effective August 31st. We went through a period in which we put together some educational material. We know we have 144 locations that are impacted in the city. Out of those, 71 are motels, which were the main target of the intention of the ordinance. We had our code enforcement pair up with the neighborhood resource officers in the area, start the educational campaign, and on January 10th, we did phase 2, where we actually started inspecting. They did 31 locations. Out of those, I want to say that 7 were cited for various issues. The main violations were the fact that they're not having a log. If I could kind of quickly recap, the main changes of the ordinance were that there's a minimum of 4 hours that you can rent any room. Anyone who rents a room needs to be 18 years or over, possess a government ID. They need to maintain a log that's accessible to the police to be able to inspect, which says the ID of the renter, number of persons occupying the room, the tag of the automobile that was used, if any, to come into a hotel, the dates and times that the room was occupied, the rate that was charged. They also need to maintain CCTV cameras in the main entrance and any open airways, the front desks. There needs to be signage, very obviously placed, that warns anybody that comes in there about signs of human trafficking. We've also been working with the employees of all the hotels and the motels to make sure that they're aware of how to recognize signs of human trafficking. Not only our officers or the neighborhood resource officers, but our officers that are assigned to the Human Trafficking Task Force out of the State Attorney's Office. They must possess a crime mitigation plan. That's one of the issues that we've had. We're still working on a vessel or a vehicle to be able to ensure that they have that. That's a condition of them to be able to renew their VTR and continue to operate. And they must retain a security guard or an off-duty police officer on the premises from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week. So we're working on that. And just to remind you, the fines, first offense is $1,000, second is $2,500, and third and subsequent at $5,000. So out of the 71 that we inspected, we did a subsequent inspection, joint inspection together with our partners at Code, and we hit another 40 locations on 127, and out of those, we did 44 locations, 40, and we cited, looks like we opened a total between all inspections, the first one and the second, we have 44 cases that were opened by Code. The vast majority for the logs and the CCTV setup. So we are well on our way. I know I had a conversation with Commissioner Reyes from D4. He has noticed what the intent was, a reduction in the prostitution on the streets. So we believe that the ordinance is hitting the mark as it should.
Of the 44 citations, can you break those down for me, for us?
Of the
19, if I may.
Yeah, go.
For a second. Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Santos Alborna, I'm the Co-Compliance Director. We've issued, as of today, 17 notice of violations.
Okay, 17.
All of them have been provided 30 days to comply. And if they don't, we're going to bring them here, adjudicate, and assign the fines as reflected in the ordinance.
Can you break down for me what the 17 are? what the citations were about?
They are predominantly, well, all of them are motels.
Not predominantly. Of the 17, just break it down. 4 for this, 2 for that, 3 for that.
I'd be happy to provide that information to you. I don't have it at my fingertips, but I can tell you the vast majority, the 17 were, I don't want to provide you something from memory.
Was it for lack of
For all, they were for any of those items. Either they did not have the closed circuit camera, or they were not collecting the IDs as required. So they were for a myriad, for any of those items there. So altogether, as of today, we have 17 notices of violation.
Can you give me, by the end of the day today, the 17?
Yes, sir.
So we may be able to bring this back?
Yes, we can provide that to you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Madam Chair? Chief? Sir? Have you worked together with the state attorney in different stings and different investigations? Because that was part of it, and it was the state attorney, the one that we were working on, and we prepared this ordinance in cooperation with the state attorney and using their suggestions. And it has been working, according to you, and trying to minimize what is human trafficking and prostitution. In the streets, I can vouch for it because 8th Street, you don't see or on Flagler, and your department has done a great job. And I don't know if in other areas of the city it has been also affected.
Correct. So, Commissioner, we do have a very close working relationship, and we have 2 detectives that are detached and work along the state attorney's office with the human trafficking task force. So it's something that we take very personal.
That was the intent of this.
Correct.
Chief, to follow up on Commissioner Carollo's question earlier, in terms of Coral Gables, do we have a report from them? Do you have an MOU with Coral Gables now?
We do have an MOU with Coral Gables, Commander Jack Ferrer, that shares that portion of 8th Street that impacts both sides, both jurisdictions, has a very close working relationship with the Coral Gables Police Department, and we conduct joint operations with them as well as Miami-Dade County on a routine basis. This year so far, we've had a total of, I want to say, 3 operations with 6 arrests, just in that small portion there. If you're looking at the last couple of years, just in Flagami alone, between last year and this year, 75 prostitution arrests. So we've enhanced our focus on that. That's closely followed by Little Havana, which we've had 20.
Well, based on that, and there are no other questions, Madam Chair, I have no further questions. I'm going to ask that we withdraw FR2 for further consideration. For now, we may bring it back. He says it's working, so the chief says it's working. It's working, right?
Correct, absolutely. And I think it will be a phenomenal idea, very similar to what we do with the HEAT program, where we send you regular updates to the entire commission via the manager's officer. I humbly suggest that we include that protocol as well for this, just to keep it, to keep the commissioners all informed with the latest numbers.
Madam Chair, the chief mentioned Little Havana, so if I could have you clarify that. The 20 prostitution arrests that you made in Little Havana, how many have been this year?
How many have been what, sir?
Have been this year?
This year have been 8.
8, okay. And that was after the report that was erroneous that a female in Little Havana had been sexually assaulted within a few hours of the New Year, correct?
Yes, sir. There was an incident that was reported on New Year's Eve, shortly after the New Year, in reference to an armed sexual battery that took place. Further investigation reveals that it was related to a prostitution related incident that had gone astray.
And it was not a female, it was a male.
The victim was not a female, yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to clear up, what those 20 or so have been. And I want to thank you, Chief, because this problem in that area, Little Havana, had been going on for around 3 years, and nobody ever responded until you came on board. And when you started looking at the records and the information and the facts, and all the neighbors that have been complaining and nothing had been done, you did something about it. So I thank you for that. And I just wanted to clarify the kind of arrests that were happening there. And I'll leave it at that.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second
Thank
to
you.
withdraw this item? Do I have a second to withdraw the item?
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Motion, item is withdrawn.
Thank you.
Scooter program.
I'm going to ask, Madam Chair, if I may, that we defer it again until February 24th. The administration has asked me in the morning to sort of take a second look at it. They disqualified five companies, and we got to figure how we
Second.
move forward.
Second, all in favor?
Right.
Item deferred until February 24th. And the last item, FR4.
Yes, Madam Chair. In 1979, this commission put an item on the ballot to change our charter and make provisions for the Baywalk. And they had a lot of discussions on this dais, if you read the minutes, about property rights and how this could be defended legally and how it could be a great amenity for the city. 40 years later, we still don't have a Baywalk. The provisions were written in a way it was completely at the discretion of private development when they trigger their responsibility. But it left no provision for us to actually negotiate with them to accelerate the process. And what this does is it takes those missing pieces, identifies it, empowers the city manager to work with a company like CBRE, negotiate with those missing pieces to get the easements necessary. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to cost the city money. We have a whole mechanism of carrot and sticks available to us, but we did it with one property and it was successful. What I'm trying to do is create a template through which we can have a 5-mile linear park completed in the near future from Brickell Bay Drive all the way up to the Julia Tuttle Causeway. I'm only missing 2 pieces in Brickell right now. The Vice City Marina just closed theirs down last year, and we don't have the leverage to force them to open it up. I'd like to give the management the ability to negotiate that. But more importantly, I'd like to bring this entire element as an asset to the city's Parks Department. I'd like to work with the Planning Department to get it into our Parks Master Plan, and I'd like to really look at it as something that we focus on, because right now we don't have the ability to maintain it, to manage it if we wanted to. It's just a patchwork of individual properties, and I'd like it to become, in a sense, a public-private city asset. Now, the way this ordinance does that, not through the zoning code, but through the city code, it takes the precedent that both county and state have used in the past, where a greenway under state statute can consist of both public and private pieces that work together with a government or municipality to be included in a parks system officially. So it's a creative way to do a public-private and really get this going to finish the Baywalk for our city. So that's my goal.
I'll move it.
I have a
I'll second
question on it, and that's why I wanted to defer it, because
Okay, wait 1 second. Commissioner Croyo moved it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion?
yes, my main argument about this is what we are going to do, we are going to allow owners, property owners, to give land for the Baywalk and also the adjacent land that they have, the green space that they have between the property and the Baywalk. It will be considered park, right? And my fear is that, and I want to know, so once it's considered park, we are the ones that have to maintain it. You see, that is a cost right there. And besides that, if, we can find, we have to define how much they have, it is allowed. And because if, let's say that I will just, my whole, the whole green space that I have behind my property, I could say, well, this is going to be part of Baywalk, and therefore it is park, and I will not pay any taxes on it. You see? I think that we have to be very careful how do we draft this and how this could be used, you see, in the future as that 5-mile linear park that you referred to, which most of it is going to be concrete. That linear park could be used for any item that will come that requires net loss. You see, green net loss of land that has been used for other purposes. They can apply this to that. That is something that I would like to clarify before we vote on it. You see, how much it is allowed, how much can they they can provide as park, and what is the economic effect of it. Because if I have, for example, I have half an acre, I can say this is park. It is my property. You see, it's part of Baywalk, and I could assign that. I mean, and then I'm going to pay taxes on it.
Do we have staff here to clarify his questions?
And I can help.
Could I have staff clarify his questions, please?
Madam Chair, while you wait for staff,
Go
happy
ahead.
to address a little bit. Because yes, the city attorney did have a lot of heartburn over making sure this was not a taking where anyone could see that we were trying to go into their property and diminish their rights or force something that didn't already exist. And so the city attorney actually has some floor amendments she'd like to add that have given her comfort to it. But I wanted to assure the commissioner that this does not mandate that we maintain it. There are already very specific provisions within our code that distinguish that the landowner is the responsible party. But it doesn't preclude us if we wanted to create a program of maintenance in the future, because right now we don't have one. And one of the things I worked on at the DDA was to expand the downtown enhancement team and the yellow shirts to see if someday there could be a larger group of downtown maintenance that even encompasses the Baywalk to help with former homeless employment, because they do such a great job. But that's not mandated, it's not in this plan, it's something that this allows us to do for the future if we were to bring this into our park system. Okay. So it's just the first step.
Yes, but I want to make sure that, you see, this could be used and abused by property. Because I don't blame it. You see, property owners, they are business people. I said, well, if I can save, you see, in my taxes, if I can say, I mean, this tract of land here that it is adjacent to Baywalk, I can say, okay, this is all parkland, and I would claim it. I will try to deduct it from the tax roll.
So
That's a good question.
can we
That's
get
right. I wanna-
clarification from staff, please? Mr. Manager?
I think that Victoria has.
Art? So it may be a legal question. So the question is, would a Greenway partnership reduce their taxable land? And the answer should be no. The intent of this legislation is to not affect their development rights or their taxable area. Yep.
That's the way I understood it, but that is a legal question.
Madam Chair, and Mr. Russell, Commissioner Russell, if I may offer also an amendment, it says amendment that would read that this dedication or other voluntary covenants shall not be used to offset non-net loss to parkland in the MCNP. Because I don't want anybody to come and when I'm leaving, when I leave and I get a piece of West End Park, because the commission wants it, and it could say, okay, we are going to dedicate that area over there to non-net loss. You see.
My understanding, I think that amendment would limit the intention of the ordinance. My intention is not to use anything that we don't have access to for the public recreational space toward no net loss. So it wouldn't be suddenly you'd see this entire Baywalk be used for no net loss.
Hold on one second. Until we have clarification from staff, could we table this item and move on to boards and committees, and let's get that out of the way?
Okay.
Mr. City Clerk?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. BC2, Arts and Entertainment Council, Chair King will be appointing Willis Feline.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Is that all of the boards?
BC4, Bayfront Park Management Trust, Vice Chair Carroyo will be reappointing to an at-large seat Alex Cardenas with a 5-5 term waiver.
I'll move it.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That concludes the boards and committees.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I thought I ran an efficient meeting. You have far surpassed me. I just have to say,
Well, thank you.
By lunch, we'll be done by lunch?
I wish. I believe I have a press conference to attend right now. They're looking at me right now. I have a press conference, so if we can, we have, all of us, if we can adjourn while staff gets the information from us, for us, to do this press conference, and we'll return. So a quick recess.
Madam Chair, until what time will we be here today for the meeting?
Until what time?
Yeah,
Until we're done, I'm trying to.
no, I'm saying for the morning session.
Oh, what time is it now? 11?
Until 12?
Yes, till 12.
Yeah, because I have to attend something that has to do with my mother, so that's going to probably take half an hour there, so
Oh, yeah.
I'll
No,
probably won't be back until,
I'm coming.
I
Okay.
probably won't be back then
From
until
12.
after lunch.
From 12 to 2. We'll recess for lunch from 12 to 2.
Okay.
And we'll recess now so I can. Meeting is now in recess.